Hey guys, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How are you? I said it backwards. And this is just basically going to be a production walkthrough of the demo because I have had people ask me how to get One Kit Wonder to sit in the mix, how to make it work in the mix, and I have had those troubles too. But with these tips, hopefully I can get you on the right track. So without wasting any more time, let's just get right into it. And what I did for the drums, because it is a pre-mixed kit, I just chose a preset that sounded good, which happened to be tuck cymbals. I like quieter cymbals. And I just ran it through my typical bus processing, so there is some EQ that's going to look insane. So you can mostly ignore that. That's just my ears being extremely sensitive. But I just have the typical nollie trick, right? Where you're just basically catching the snare hits, as you can see. And these settings are actually pretty set and forget for just about any drum mix I've ever done. So if you want to copy those settings, feel free to go back and just screenshot it or watch Nollie's video. Watch Nollie's video instead. And then I also have additional compression here. It's not too much, but it is a plugin that I have been messing with for the drums, and without any of the processing, it still sounds phenomenal. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it off, and you'll hear the difference that it's making. With the processing. So basically all I really wanted to do with the drum bus was bring out some extra punch, as well as tame some of those high end as you have seen. But again, that's not necessary. I can play it without it. And with it. So yeah, it's not necessary. I just prefer darker drum mixes because I'm weird. Next up, I have the bass. I did something different for once. Wow. I was using the nollie bass, and I did absolutely nothing to it aside from some EQ and the typical sidechain. So yeah, it's just on the heavy preset. I raised the sub up by 3.4 dB, back down the tone so it's not sticking out against the guitar too much. I raised a lot of sub information just because I wanted stupid low end. Cut down on some of the 140 range and just tamed out some of this harshness I heard up here. But nothing crazy. I can play it with and without. And with it. And then soothe, this is literally just sidechaining the kick and doing absolutely nothing else. That was allowing the kick drum to actually poke through a little bit better in the mix, so I'll play it without. And with it. And so you can see that once I turned on the sidechain with soothe, it made the kick drum so much more punchy. So much more low end like impact in those hits, and that's what I really needed out of this mix. And it also really helped to help fill in the gap where I had that limitation of working with the pre-mixed drum. Aside from that, I am using the Nollie X plugin. I'm using the Architect Tiger Studio Rhythm preset that Nick Broomhall put out. Changed literally nothing on it aside from raising the level on the compressor just because and the input because I feel like my personal signal was just too weak for the plugin. Basic guitar EQ, cutting out some of the 250, 500-ish range. High shelf to add more high end and getting rid of some harshness so I can play without and then with. And then with. Looks like I also boosted quite a bit of dB on there. Typical multi-band, taming the low-end chugs. Typical stuff. And soothe just to tame some of the harshness. And I do have an ambient layer here. So this is using the distant amp, just a regular preset. It was the creepy ambience preset. It's not going to say up there for some reason, but creepy ambience preset, and it sounds like this. I was quite literally just rubbing my fretboard. like quite literally rubbing the fretboard. And all of that feeds into this again. So it is quite literally the same settings as on the drum bus, but I find it works quite well on the instrumental bus as well. I dial it the same way. I mostly look for it to hit when the snare hits and forget about it. One more thing that I will mention is when you're working with a pre-mixed kit like this, what really helps dial it in above all of the mixing stuff is how you set the levels for those things. For example, if I solo out the bass and the drums, if I were to reset these values to noon-ish in play, still sounds great, but if I pull in the guitar, you can hear that the bass, there is quite a bit of tone knob stuff going on, which would be more of the high-end distortion stuff, and I really am missing a lot of that sub impact from the bass. So it really helps that once you have the level for the drums and the guitar, put in the bass, mess with the distortion track and the sub track specifically until it gets to a spot where you like it. So for example, I'll just pull everything down and I'll do it by ear from scratch. So that would be too much. The low end is where I like it there. Again, 3.6 now. And I'll do the same for tone. Too much for my taste. And so you can really see that just making minor adjustments, because these were at 12, I believe, just making minor adjustments to things like that really helps get everything to sit nice, snug, and warm in the mix. Anyway, thank you again to GGD for sending out this kit. I very much appreciate it. Joe, if you're watching this, you're the man. Thank you. And yeah, I think that'll be it for me today. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.